In this video, we're breaking down the snake side of the MSXL Louisville Open layout at Asylum Paintball, August 22nd through the 24th. We'll talk about how to survive the breakout, get it into the snake clean, and use each bunker to open up the field and create scoring opportunities. What's up, guys? My name is Brady Nickel for Outside the Net, where we go deep on paintball and mindset of true competitors every single week. So if that sounds like something you're into, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now let's jump in. Okay, so let's talk about the snake. Now again, let's do some breakout hypothesis, right? In the last video, we talked about going possibly up to this pin, diving into that Sally or Sarah, or whatever you want to call this little mini brick here, snake side of the 50, and working your way into the Viper. Now let's talk about some other options. You have your normal route to get in, and I think that's fine. And we'll dive into these positions here to see just what you can do from each one of those spots. But on this layout, I like that the turret, or sorry, the Cobra is actually the widest bunker. So I think the wide Cobras are starting to come back, and we're getting a lot more tape control. And so I like that you are able to see all the way down the wire. So let's dive into these bunkers. I think we're going to see a lot of chaotic plays happen out here, right? Now, if we look at the Cobra, again, we have our heads up on the outside. Got all these spots to lock off, even if you're playing a little bit tall, which you got to be careful of that, right? But if you're looking, you could drop them over that mini wall. I think for sure if you have somebody in the snake and they're looking inside, right, your job is on the wire. Make sure nobody's progressing down that side of the field. Now, if nobody is in the snake, still keep your attention on that outside, but you can also look inside here, and you got the D side tower, you got the home, you got the Delta, you have this side of the 50, you've got the Sarah. That little Aztec, maybe you can drop some balls in onto the tower above it. It's all perspective, right? So we'll see when you get to the field. These are just ideas, things to look at as you're walking the field, as you're doing your practice this weekend. Now, let's look at the God, or the snake insert. Not as much going on here. Even if you're playing over the top, you can't see past that 50 really in this zone. Now you can if you're looking inside. Now I'm going to say this with the understanding that you're not staying here, right? But let's say you know you have a shot from here, right? Or maybe your support decides to go into this bunker. But if you're the attacker, first attacker, you're not staying at this bunker. Now, with that said, these are some of the shots you have. You've got the D side tower, maybe some shots on the snake side tower, but not a lot else. I mean, if somebody's wrapping on the outside of the 50 there, and I would assume they'd be playing pretty tight there, because in the last video we talked about the 50. Now let's take a look up on the wall here. 50 is locking down from here to about there into that zone, and so you might catch a barrel, but don't count on it. Now, there's not a lot going on here. With that said, there is opportunity at the D2 and the D3, and then you have some recover from this gap over to the D50. So keep that positioning in mind. Okay, so move into the snake 1. Okay, things open up a little bit here, right? We got the home, got the D side tower. Got the D side tower there, and we got the Dorito 50. Now, I don't think at your field that this gap is going to look this huge. It might, but I don't think it will. Still, you have that gap there. So if you're getting calls, hey, there's a D3, be prepared to stop this through here and make sure they can't progress any further. All right, and it is a tapered snake, so you have complete freedom to move towards the middle of the snake, towards the 50. Snake 2 opens up a little bit. You got that Sally there blocking you off. Not a whole lot going on here. Somebody's standing tall there at the D side tower. You do have that available to you, and you've got the D side 50 on the inside, but not a lot here. And even if you pop the top, which is, I don't know if that's something you want to do, you have the home bunker there. So, and maybe a unconventional play, you might pop the top on the home. All right, snake 3. Here's what we're looking at. We've got inside of the center 50. You've got D2 and the turret or the Dorito corner. You've got a shot on the D side tower and the Sally. And again, these knuckles here, they're very playable on the top. So if you're playing over the top, don't have a lot going on, to be honest. I don't think that's even worth it. And then, of course, we look down the outside. Not a lot here. So I don't know. I don't think you're going to see that corner from here, right? If you're tucked in, I don't think you're going to see that zone there. But that doesn't mean don't pay attention. And if you're going from the snake 3 into the Viper, what do you have stopping you? You've got the grit tower or the snake side tower, the money. If they're looking through this zone here, they can stop you. Possibly the D, I think that's the D2 right here. Let's see. Yeah, that's the D2. Can shoot over that snake beam into this gap. And the snake 50, or sorry, the center 50 can stop that as well. So you have to be cautious of that and think about what it's going to take to get through that zone. Now, a little bit unconventional. You may see this happen. Okay, so let's take this scenario here. There's somebody in this grit tower, but you pop up here in the snake 3 and kill their D side. And let's assume that there's not a 50, right? So there's no 50 and there's no D side, but there is definitely somebody in this grit tower. So instead of going on the outside, let's get back up here. If you're serious about winning this event, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of these zone breakdowns. And for the players who want that extra edge, join our Discord. That's where the live show happens. That's where the guests show up. And that's where you get to be a part of the conversation. We'll see you on the inside. Now, let's get back to the breakdown. Yeah, that'll work. So instead of going this side, right, and potentially being shot from here, do this. Jump over the snake beam. And you're right into the Viper. A lot of times people forget that they can do that. But yeah, just jump over the snake beam. Again, that's assuming that your D side threat and your center threat are gone. But you know you have a body over here or even down the wire. So just an outside the box way to get up to that Viper from the Snake 3. Okay, now I don't know that you'll see a lot of play happen out of this little mini Aztec, but you might. So you got the inside shot on that D side tower. You got the delta a little bit there. Anything that comes up in this 50 looking your side, you're kind of somewhat mirrored up with this this snake tower. And then you got your Sally on the inside there. Again, I think this is going to be a transitional bunker. I don't think a lot of play is going to happen out of it, but you might see it. So maybe they're in the grit tower and they bump up and they want to just move up in there. Okay, now we're going to finish this off. We're going to start with the Sally and work into the Viper. And again, I think you can get here on the breakout fairly easy. I'd like to see how this plays. But from the Sally, you've got the inside of the D side tower, and you got the inside of the home. You also have this little guy here, the center 50, right in front of you that you need to watch out for. This is going to be something I think is going to trip some people up. Is this little gap here? They're not going to be protected, and somebody's going to squeeze something in here. So here's something I could see happening and being a problem. And let me get over here and take a look at this. So let's look at this, right? Let's say you got a guy in this Sally just on the other side. Let's see, all right, there we go. Yeah. So they're in that Sally just right there, and you're in this D side tower. I would try putting some paint right there on the end of that snake tube. I don't know if the gap is this extreme. This is what the layout showed, but I would try that and see if you can get a bounce in there. Because if they're not coming out on this side at all, that means they're coming out on the other side, right? And they're probably looking towards the snake, not even worried about you. Throw some paint on that. I think somebody's going to forget about that and get tripped up by it. Maybe you'll catch a bounce. So let's look at this from this perspective, right? I'm confident. I'm comfortable. I'm just looking inside here, right? And looking at the Cobra. Or have my gun on this guy. Give a shit about this right here. So, something to keep in mind and watch out for. Make sure you don't get trapped by it. Okay, so here we are. The Snake 50, the Viper on the inside. You've got the center structure. You've got D2, D3. Nothing else really on the D side. If you see, you might catch somebody bumping into that D2. You might have something here on the D side tower. Not sure. And you got the home, of course, and the Sally. So you got that there. And then looking on the outside, you can drop them in on the inside here, on the outside there. And not really a whole lot of drop shots or anything. So maybe a bounce off of God into the Cobra. That's assuming that somebody's still in the Cobra when you get there. But if you have the snake side collapsed, is when everything's going to open up for you, and you're going to get the opportunity to wrap on the outside, shoot the snake tower, shoot the mini Aztec, the home. Let's see, let's keep moving around here. Yeah, I mean, it's packs and backs all day long. D1 and the turret, and even the Delta in that tower lineup. So, yeah, I think that would be a wrap for it. You get to that Viper and wrap on the outside. Oh, there we go. There's our 3 zones to cover on the MSXL layout. Again, let's go over a couple of the breakouts that we talked about. Well, we talked for the D side about getting up into the D2 as fast as possible. D1 is okay, but you definitely want to get out to the D2 as quickly as you can. This tower does a pretty good job at locking this zone off. And the Delta is okay as a transition, and maybe even out to the turret or the D-side corner, but not my favorite spot on the field. Not as much as I would like to see out of that corner. The home is really just for the breakout. Once you're past the breakout move, you do have this zone here if you're shooting the D side, and I think I would prioritize shooting D side from the home. Maybe you have a second gunner that pauses here and then makes a secondary move very quickly. That's shooting this snake gap over the top of the pin into that zone there. And then snake has 2 options, right? So you got your typical snake run, but you also have there's maybe 3 options. One I like more than the other though. So you could do this, right? You could go out to this snake tower and then wait for an opportunity to transition to the mini Aztec and then into the Viper. But on the breakout, I think you're going to see this happen. You're going to see this pin here and then a dive into the Sally. And I don't think people are going to be expecting that. So don't sleep on that one. But once you're in the Sally, you have pretty good chance of making it right into the Viper and wrapping on the outside. So I know that's a lot of different options for the snake. And then this home player, once their job is done, I think they go right to the center. And then they choose a side. Whichever side you want to prioritize for the point, I think you send them there and have them on that job. So they have the best coverage of the D side on the field. They also have really good coverage of the snake side on the field. And it's going to be super easy to get here. The only thing you have to consider here is one of the biggest things you have to consider here is the potential of another player, an opposing player, coming up at the same time, hearing your gun, and then stabbing you. And if they win that interaction, you're in trouble. You're in bad trouble. The best you could hope for is to either trade or you get the drop on them. So if you come to this wall, listen for guns, because I think you're going to hear them. And then figure out how you can squeeze that player out. I think whoever takes control of this center structure the best and most frequently is going to win the match. And that's a wrap on the snake side breakdown for the Louisville Open. This side can win or lose you games, but it's only one part of the puzzle. So make sure you check out the Dorito and the center breakdowns for the full plan. I'm Brady Nickel, and this is Outside the Net. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our weekly paintball breakdowns. And if you want to join us live, talk to our guests, and ask your own questions on the show, the only place to do it is inside our private Discord community. Links in the description. I'll see you there.